Welcome to the 1 Minute Apologist. Apologetics seeks to give credible answers to curious questions, to give a defense. Can Jesus handle my doubts? I love the story in the Gospel of Matthew where John the Baptist is on death row and he begins to have a bout with doubt. And it says that he sends his disciples on to go and ask Jesus if he's really the Messiah. In fact, in chapter 11, it says in verse 2, "Now when John heard in prison about the deeds of the Christ, he sent word by his disciples and said to him, 'Are you the one who is to come, or shall we look for another?'" Now imagine being John's disciples. You've been following John. John's telling you this is the Messiah. And now he's telling them to go find out from Jesus if Jesus really is the Messiah. Well, John obviously was willing to be authentic with those whom he led. Now, look what happens here. Here's what Jesus does. Picking up in verse 4, "And Jesus answered them, 'Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, and the dead are raised up, and the poor have good news preached to them.'" So what does Jesus do? Does he freak out? Does he panic? Does he lose it? No, not at all. Jesus can handle our doubts. Why? Jesus knew in this moment that John was sincere. He was authentic. He was earnestly just seeking the truth out here. Now, it's hard to imagine John's somebody who struggles with any doubts. Why? Well, he's the one who baptized Jesus. He's the one who said, "Behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world." He's the one who was in the womb and he leapt in the presence of Mary who had conceived Jesus. So it's powerful to think that even John is struggling in this moment, but he is. He's suffering, and Jesus quietly affirms him by assuring his disciples. And then it goes on to say in verse 11 where Jesus says, "Truly I say to you, among those born of women, there has arisen no one greater than John the Baptist." Right on the heels of his doubts, Jesus says, no one's been born greater of a woman than him. Think about that. That is so assuring. There's a way for us as Christians, when we have questions, to authentically bring them to Jesus. John was not trying to be antagonistic. He just wanted to really make sure that he was the Messiah. And so he sent his disciples on, and Jesus doesn't lose it. Well, check it out. If John the Baptist can doubt, not only that, if Adam and Eve could doubt in the Garden of Eden, how much more are we susceptible to doubt? How much more are we susceptible to doubt than John, 2,000 years removed from church history at the beginning of the gospel age? How much more are we going to be open to it in a melting pot culture of beliefs with over 40,000 denominations, with many different world religions, many different cults? Well, this passage shows us that Jesus can handle our doubts. Next time you have questions, bring them to the Lord.